construction, probably asbestos, huh?
You may be seated. As we gather here this morning in joy, I invite you to take a moment now to quiet your minds and hearts as we collect our thoughts and prayers. O God, creator of all things, in whom we live and move and have our being. O source of all wisdom and truth, who enlightens our minds and guides our path. O divine physician, who knit us together and continually renews us. We gather before you today in gratitude and humility. You who are the way, we thank you for all those assembled here today who have chosen the path of medicine, who have heard the call to work tirelessly for the health and wholeness of their fellow human beings. Continue to guide each of them on their journey, forming their hearts, their minds, and their hands, that they might be instruments of peace and so heal what is wounded, strengthen what is weak, and binds up all that is broken. You who are the truth, we thank you for the hours upon hours of study and hard work that have enabled these candidates to be here today. We thank you for the gifts of wisdom and knowledge and understanding. Continue to pour down these gifts upon those gathered before you today and fill them with openness and humility, that they might continue to learn, to grow, to question, and to develop. You who are the life, we thank you for the immeasurable gift of each of those gathered here today. We ask you to continue to bless them, to strengthen them, and to protect them. As they go forward as doctors, teachers, and researchers, help them to always guard and defend the lives of those entrusted to them, especially the lives of the most vulnerable, and to do good and not harm to all those who come before them. Grant them the strength and wisdom to heal their patients, not only of body, but also of mind and spirit, and to always honor and respect each one who comes before them. We come before you, O giver of all good things, with immense gratitude for professors, teachers, mentors, parents, siblings, spouses, families, friends, and all who have supported these candidates and enabled them to be here today. Grant that we might always remember that we are never alone, that life is a journey in community alongside others, and that it is only by supporting and being supported by others that we can truly flourish. For all of these things we pray. Amen.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, and I'm glad we dodged the rain. Welcome to the 44th commencement exercises of the Warren Alpert School of Medicine of Brown University. First, I want to thank the families and loved ones of the graduating class that are joining us today. Congratulations on everything that you have done that has allowed your medical student to get through 4 grueling years and to be on the launching pad of a wonderful career. You should be very proud of their accomplishments, and frankly, you should be very proud of your own accomplishments. I also want to thank the medical faculty and staff that are here today. You've played a major role in developing these young physicians. Without your insight, guidance, mentorship, and wisdom, they would not be where they are today. To the class of 2018, we are immensely proud of you. You have worked hard, and I might add, played hard. You have done a great job and accomplished wonderful things. You are wonderful people with immense knowledge, immense compassion, and a true commitment to serve, and we are thrilled that you have reached this stage in your career. You're about to go forward into one of the most wonderful professions in the world. You will be entrusted with caring for the sick and caring for the less fortunate. In addition, people will come to you for help and in the process tell you their most intimate secrets in a frank and honest manner. Take this responsibility seriously. Never waver in your commitment to improving their lives, the lives of their family, and the society and culture that they come from. Always listen to your patients because they have an immense story to tell you, and it's a story that you need to hear. Now, every commencement speaker wants to leave the podium having had a chance to make a number of important points. I am no different, and it's one of the rare times where I get the whole student body listening to what I'm saying, regardless of whether it's good or not. So I'm going to take advantage of that perspective and go forward. There are 4 points that I want to make today. The first is remember who you are, remember where you came from, and remember who got you there. At events like this, I cannot help but flash back to my own graduation from medical school. I was very excited. My parents were very excited, but probably the most excited person in the room was my grandmother. My grandmother grew up in Greek Macedonia and was a single mother of 2 young boys. She never had a chance to go to school, let alone college or medical school. During immensely difficult times, she took my father and my uncle and went to the port city of Patras, where she convinced a tramp steamer owner to take them to New York City. When she got to Ellis Island, she realized that the majority of the island was actually a big hospital, and it was a hospital designed to detect communicable diseases. She also quickly learned that if you had anything that even remotely looked like a communicable disease, you were sent back to the old country. Unfortunately, my father had developed a rash during the steerage class voyage to New York. To deal with this, my grandmother sent my uncle through the line for an exam with his papers, and his papers were signed, and he was deemed healthy. My grandmother then gave those papers to my father, put my father under her skirt, gave my father's papers to my uncle, and sent my uncle through the line the second time. Needless to say, he was just as healthy the second time as he had been the first time. When this was done, she took the 2 sets of papers, the 2 children, and went off into the Lower East Side of New York for a new life. She then worked in the sweatshops of New York City while my father and my uncle went to school. At my graduation, the first person that I saw coming down off the podium was my grandmother. I put my mortar board on her head and she hugged me. She also gave me the cheek pinch that is so characteristic of a grandmother. She then said with tears in her eyes to me, "You may be a doctor, but I'm a professor. I'm a professor of life." And, you know, she was absolutely right. Without my grandmother's ingenuity, cunning, and commitment, I would not have had the opportunities that I have today, and I would not be in the position that I'm in today. Each and every one of you have a story of people who gave their all to allow you to get to where you are now. You need to thank them directly. You also need to thank them by passing this wonderful commitment forward to the next generation. Point number 2 is that you now need to go out and really solidify what your passion is. Many of you think that with 4 years of medical school under your belts that the heavy lifting is over. Unfortunately, that's not the case. When you become interns and residents, you will start on a treadmill of scientific, experiential, personal, and interpersonal learning. You will have immensely varied opportunities no matter what field you go into. The trick is, over the next few years, to find what makes you happy and what makes you complete. You need to get yourself into a position so that when you wake up every morning and you go downstairs and you realize that you're going to spend the next 8, 10, 12 hours doing X, whatever X is, it ought to put a smile on your face. If you can get that smile on your face when you're walking out the door, you have used your time in medical school and in your residency to the optimal manner, and you've put yourself in the right place. The third point I want to make is that it is essential that you work to make medicine better. I strongly believe that it is the obligation of every physician to improve the care that we give for future generations, and we improve what we can give future caregivers in terms of treatments and treatment systems. At graduations such as these, I can't help but think about a patient that I had as an intern named Nick D'Alessandroni, who died of pulmonary fibrosis. Telling him that he had a disease with no known cause and no known treatment that was going to kill him was a tremendously difficult process. Watching him not respond to the ineffective and toxic treatments that we had at that time, including Cytoxan, Imuran, penicillamine, and eventually suffocate, changed me forever. I took Nick's death as a challenge, and I've spent a good bit of my life trying to understand and develop new treatments for this and other diseases. Simultaneously, others have spent time frenetically trying to improve the operational approaches and the cost efficiency of what we give to our patients, and to try to find treatments for what we now consider to be untreatable diseases. I am sure you can thus understand why many of us had tears in our eyes a couple of years ago when the Food and Drug Administration approved the first drugs for idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. I'm also sure you can understand what it was like a couple of years ago when anti-IL-13 was shown to be effective in human asthma based on research from our laboratory. The last point that I want to make is to follow your instincts about what is right. In the future, you may find yourself in a position where you have a vision of what is right and you cannot get popular buy-in. When this comes up, I want you to think about the life of Dr. Ignaz Semmelweis. In the 1840s, he realized that puerperal fever that was so common and had a 35% mortality rate in the obstetric wards of Europe could be markedly diminished by hand washing with a chlorinated lime solution. You would have thought that he would have been hailed as a hero. Instead, Ignaz Semmelweis was the brunt of vicious criticism from self-righteous physicians who thought that they were immune to any criticism. You may be wondering why I'm telling you such a sad story today. I'm telling you it because there was a very happy ending. Dr. Semmelweis's contention was subsequently proven to be true. It served as the basis for the germ theory that that was promulgated by Louis Pasteur and Joseph Lister and is the forerunner of modern infectious diseases. Ignaz Semmelweis, through what he did and the ground that he stood, saved millions and millions of lives in the years to come. When I first came to Brown, one of the things I was asked by the alums and others was, what are the main points you want to convey to your students? Well, here's my answer. We owe our patients the best care we can provide. We also owe it to future generations to make our modes of care more efficient and to develop, ameliorate, and yeah, I'm going to say it, prevent and cure diseases that are presently untreatable. So I want to end this presentation by challenging each and every one of you to improve how we handle at least one disease during the course of your career. Exactly what type of contribution will depend on your passion. It can take place in the clinic, it can take place at the bench, it can take place in the operating room, it can take place at the computer terminal. It can also take place as a passionate, dedicated physician who listens intently to a patient and as a result hears and understands something that no one else has been able to hear before. Imagine how great this world will be if every Brown student did this, and I'm sure you will. Now imagine where we will be if every medical student did this over the course of their subsequent careers. So in closing, I want to convey once again to the class of 2018 my congratulations. I also want to congratulate their families, their loved ones, their professors, and their staff, and the medical school staff. Go forward and do great things. However, remember, while you're on life's journey, you will always be part of Brown and the Alpert Medical School family, and we will always be there for you. Congratulations and celebrate. Thank you.
It is my great pleasure to introduce to you our faculty speaker, Dr. Amos Charles. The class of 2018 chose to honor a physician whose storied clinical work, dedication to teaching, and yes, oral presentation critiques, and other Charlisms animate the halls of the Providence Veterans Administration Hospital. Dr. Charles is not one to frequently share his story, but I find his path to medicine as inspiring as his achievements here at Brown. He immigrated to Brooklyn, New York from Haiti with his 4 siblings and single mother when he was 19. Before he was enrolled in high school, he spent his first 6 months in America with a dictionary in the Daily New York Times, teaching himself English. He went on to graduate from City University of New York in 1981. His medical education spanned 3 countries, culminating in his MD from Ross University. Although he did not know at the time, his ties to Brown were first cultivated in 1986, when he began working in the laboratory of Dr. Sharon Rounds, then at Boston City Hospital. After investigating the chemoattractant properties of endothelial cells under the tutelage of Dr. Rounds and Dr. Hap Farber, he entered into residency training in internal medicine at Robert Wood Johnson, followed by Pulmonary Critical Care Fellowship here at Brown. After completing fellowship, he began a basic science research career back in Boston. 4 years later, we were lucky enough to have him return to the Providence VA Hospital, where he's remained for the last 18 years. I would like to share Dr. Charles Tibbett at this point. He actually never left Boston and lives there to this day. In fact, as I was returning to Providence, via South Station on a red-eye flight just last week, I found myself sitting across from a nondescript-looking man, baseball cap pulled low, black vest, maybe some corduroy slacks. But I recognized the ear-to-ear grin and realized I had found myself in the middle of Amos's first transfer of the day on his daily pilgrimage here to Providence. Our seats on the subsequent commuter rail felt a little like a receiving line as other regulars filed past and paid their respects. Such recognition is not unusual for Dr. Charles, who has received no fewer than 20 awards for his teaching of medical students. He was inducted into Alpha Omega Alpha Medical Honor Society in 2009. And Dr. Charles is also active in global health education, teaching students and caring for patients in the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Ethiopia, and Kenya over the course of his career. Like many of my classmates, I began my VA medicine clerkship apprehensive of the legend I have just described. But I discovered what generations of students attest to when they work with Dr. Charles. He has endless energy and a ready smile. He provides equitable care to patients who make their prejudices known. And he invites open debate when deliberating care on the wards or the latest evidence in the classroom. Thank you, Dr. Charles, and please join me in welcoming him to the podium.
This is gonna be a tough act to follow. As I was sitting there listening to the minister, the dean, and the Ian presenting this introduction, I feel like I have nothing else to add to it. So I'm gonna try my best and to tell you somewhat of a different story, and the story is probably a compilation of all the things that you have already heard. Let me start by saying, Ian, thank you for such a nice introduction. But I'm going to do my own introduction in the following year. My name is Amos Charles. I am an immigrant from Haiti. It's third world country, or to be more descriptive, a country with limited resources. All right, I would like to start by taking time to thank the graduating class of 2018 for choosing me to be the speaker for your commencement. On such an important day, it's easy for you to pick up someone in the Brown community with a much higher profile than I am, but you have decided to pick me as a speaker. And for that, I'm forever grateful to you, and I'm truly honored and privileged to have been given the opportunity to address you on such a special occasion. First, I'd like to congratulate not only you, the graduate, but also the parents, the spouse, significant others, family members and friends, and all of you who have played a role in making this day possible for the student. You, the parents, spouses, others, constitute what I call the village from where each one of those students come from. And to quote one of our well-known politicians of this time, it takes a village. To all the faculty members and administrator present, I would like to also thank you for coming and for your contribution for making this day possible. You are also part of the village. To the other people in the audience, thank you for coming to enjoy this beautiful event with all the graduates. Now my address to the graduate. I believe you have voted me to be the speaker because of who I am and for what I stand for or represent. The day I was told by Alex Moraine that I was chosen to be the faculty speaker for your commencement, I was truly excited, and I had felt that I just won $1 million. A few minutes later, by the way, it dawned on me the gravity, the weight of this important occasion, and then since then, I've been suffering with the anxiety of stepping onto the podium and accomplish the task that you have asked me. I thought about a number of things that I could talk to you, but I have decided to keep it short and simple. Therefore, I promise you it's not going to be long. You know, part of it is going to be some of that story that you have Ian already tell you, but I'm going to give you a little bit more detail. So what I've elected to do, I will take a few minutes to tell you about my journey as a kid from a small village in the northern part of Haiti to where I am today as a physician. I would give you some of my own perspective about life based on my own experience. And I would also highlight some of the challenges that you physicians would face as you move on into your career. I promise not to give you a lecture, since today is not a day to give a lecture, it's a day for celebration. On a day like this, it is important to remember your own village. In that you are the product of that village, no matter where that village is. Whether you were born in a big city anywhere in New York or California, or a small town in Mississippi, or anywhere else around the globe, in big or small city or communities in Asia, Africa, Europe, or the Caribbean, you are the product of that village. Each one of you, more than likely, come from a village that is different from the person next to you. Your diverse background and experience create the rich multicultural society that we have here in America. As a small group of people here, you are a microcosm of the American melting pot. You are what makes America such a great country. A country where people can live together or live in peace with one another, respect one another, help one another, learn from one another, and more importantly, prosper together despite their background and their different background and experiences. To those of you who might say to me, Amos, we can do better. I agree with you. I would say, yes, we can do better, but we are still a great multicultural society. On a day like this, it is important to remember all the contribution you receive from the parents, family members, neighbors, classmates, professors, educators, and all the role models in your life. All these people together contribute in forming the foundation of your life as a person. They form the foundation of you as a professional, and more importantly, as a physician or healthcare provider. Whether you realize it or not, all these people molded you into the person that you are today and the physician or provider that you will turn out to be. As I stand here before you today, I myself remember my own village and the contribution I received from all the people from whatever that village was. I remember the people in the small village in Haiti where I was born. And I remember my mother, a single parent of 5 children, who had what I would say the equivalent of 5th grade level of education. But early on, she instilled upon us the importance and value of a great education. I remember my uncle who taught me how to read and write, but also insist on me learning about geography early on as a kid. It took me a week or more of daily drubbing because he insists that I should know where the sun rises in the morning, and that from that point on, I can use that as a reference to know where north, south, east, and west is. I never forget that. This is where when I travel with my daughter now, she gets annoyed at me whenever I say, Farah, where is east or west? She said, Dad, please leave me alone. So, I remember the day my mother told me that I had to move from the village to live with my aunt. I remember my aunt, her husband, and the 3 children they had, with whom I lived for several years prior to coming to America. I came to America when I was 19. I call it the useful age of 19. The question you might ask, how did I get to America? It's a very long story. I'm going to give you the short version of it. My brother came here before us, and he then took the advantage of the now unpopular and so-called chain migration law to get my mother, myself, and my other sibling in this country. When I arrived here, I had to go back to high school because of my limitation with the English language. In Haiti, I had learned to read English and other languages, but speaking those languages was very different. I came here during the Watergate era. Like Ian told you, I spent every day trying to read the New York Times, trying to understand what the Watergate mean. Every time I look it up in the dictionary, it doesn't jive with the meaning of the sentence. It was frustrating. Then in high school, I remember my high school teacher, my high school English teacher. I even remember his name today, Mr. Ledoni. I remember the day I had a long conversation with him in broken English, and I impressed upon him that the level of education that I had in Haiti is well beyond that of a high school student. He took my plight and understood, and he took my case to the principal of the school, and got me to the process of taking some advanced courses and then regent classes, and allowed me to graduate high school in 2.5 years. Then I went on to City College of New York. I spent 5 years in City College of New York as a pre-med biology major with the intention of going to medical school. I had to tell you that I had a guidance counselor. For all these years, I never told him about the medical school intention until a few months before graduation. In fact, I had no clue about the medical school application process. I remember meeting the guidance counselor 3 to 4 months before graduation, and I told him that I would be applying to medical school. He looked puzzled and looked at me. I didn't understand why he had a puzzled look on his face. He said, "Really?" I said, "Yes." He was a chemistry teacher, and then he said, "Listen, you know, you can get a great job in pharmaceutical industry, and you would do pretty well." I don't know why he said that, but at that time, I had no idea what he was talking about, but nevertheless, I was interested in pursuing a career as being a physician. Nothing else matters to me. Being a doctor was always what I wanted to do in my life. There were times, however, I have to say, during my struggle with financial situation later on, I wish I had taken my college counselor advice. Needless to say that I applied to several medical schools in the state and I didn't get accepted. I ended up going to Mexico for my first 2 years of medical school, and then transferred to a school where I was allowed to do my 3rd and 4th year clinical rotation. I was assigned to a small community hospital on the south side of Chicago. I remember the name of the hospital was Hyde Park. Well, I'm going to deviate a little bit to tell you about my financial difficulty. I had a lot of financial difficulty because my mother, my brother, and my other sibling could not afford to help me with the expenses of my medical education. In fact, I was married and I had a kid when I was in college. I started driving a yellow taxi in New York City while I was in college. And then I continued to do that even when I was in medical school. While I was in Mexico, every opportunity that I had to travel back to the state to drive a cab, I would do that and make good money. I'm not gonna tell you whether I pay taxes or not, but when I was in Chicago, the thing that I remember the most, I would travel to New York almost every other weekend. I mean, for those of you who are all in the audience, you can remember People Express. The round trip was $59 from Chicago to New York. So I would travel to New York City. A friend of mine would meet me at the airport, give me a key to the taxi cab, and I would start making money right now and then. I would drive a cab for 8 to 12 hours on Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night, and then take an early flight to Chicago, and then I'd be there before 8 o'clock, back to the hospital. Right from the airport, I would go straight to the hospital and be a medical student. After graduating from medical school, I had to pass a required exam before I can apply for residency. Mind you, I'm a terrible test taker, and I needed a lot of time to study. In order to stay active in medicine, I took a number of additional electives as clinical observers in various hospitals in New York and in Boston. I was doing a month of pulmonary elective at the then Boston City Hospital when I met Dr. Sharon Rao. And I ended working up in Sharon Labs for 3 years when she was in Boston before she migrated to Providence. Dr. Rao, is by far one of the most important mentors that I had in my life. I wish she was here today, but if anyone sees you, you just tell her what I said about her. So Dr. Rao is a mentor and a role model that I always aspire to be as good as she is. She's a hardworking, well-rounded, extremely smart individual who understands difficult things that the average person have no clue, or even if you try, you would have a hard time understanding it. Sharon understands everything that is difficult in medicine, everything that is difficult in science. I always say one thing that I both hate and like about Sharon, she makes me feel stupid. I use that as a feeling as a motivating factor to continue to learn and be smart. Unfortunately, as I approach my retirement age, I realize that I can never work as hard and as Sharon, nor will I ever be as smart as she is. More importantly, let me tell you, Dr. Rao is one of the best mentors one can have. She is honest and sincere, would always tell you the truth, and in the end, she thrives to make you succeed. I remember one time I presented a case, and then Sharon pulled me at the end and said, Amos, that was too simplistic. I worked my butt off to do the presentation when she told me it was simplistic. From that moment on, every time I had to do something, that echo sounded in my ear. I have known Dr. Rao for 20 years now. I came to Boston. I came to Brown in 1992 for my pulmonary fellowship just because I wanted to continue working in a lab. My work in Sharon Labs in a mentorship have been one of the best experiences in my career. If Sharon was here, I would look at her in the face and say, thanks for the opportunity. Thank you for being such a good mentor and such a good role model. So if somebody's here, I would not say that to her again, she missed it. But if somebody's here, she would tell her. So the reason I tell you the story of my journey, because I strongly feel my journey may be a little bit different from that of your journey. However, regardless of where you came from or the path that you took to get to this moment, I have no doubt that all of you work as hard as I did, and a lot of people provided some help, big or small, whether it's financial or emotional, to get you along the way and to get you to where you are today. I have formulated some perspective about life based on my own experience. One has to be ambitious. 2, you should never give up on your dream. 3, you should work as hard as you can because in the end, hard work always pays off. And 4th one, I believe we are all part of the society that we live in and we benefit from all the people around us. My advice to you, my dear graduate, for your hard work, you should be very proud. You should feel very proud of your accomplishment. You are a few minutes away from taking a solemn oath, and then you will receive a medical degree that will forever give you the undeniable right and to proudly say, yes, I'm a doctor. There are times people would question you, but you should feel proud of your accomplishment. To the people who help you along the way, please remember to say thanks to them. However, I doubt that you would be able to pay them for all things they have done. For that, I feel strongly that you owe a debt to society. There is a saying in the Bible, to whom much is given, much is expected. All of you, like me, have received a lot from society. Therefore, it's time to give some back. As a doctor, you have a lot to give, and you can give a lot. I truly believe, as doctors, our firm commitment to our patient is a payment of our debt to society. You will soon swear to fulfill your obligation to the best of your ability and judgment. You must always remember the commitment in your vow to provide the best possible care to your patient. You should take time to listen to your patient. Try to understand them. Understand their concern and fear. Earn their trust and make them feel you have their best interest in mind. Remember, your patient trusts you to care for the most important and cherished asset they have, their life. Patients put their life into our hand, ladies and gentlemen. No other profession anywhere holds such a great, such a high esteem or regard and respect. Things that you do as physicians, surgeon, whether it's the medicine that you would prescribe, the surgical procedure that you would perform, the EKG that you would review, the chest X-ray or CAT scan that you will read, or the pathology report that you would provide for a biopsy, all can be a matter of life and death. I have no doubt that all of you who have chosen to pursue a career in medicine do it for the purpose of being a good Samaritan and to serve your patient well, in fact. I do remember a conversation I had with some of you. I had a student come to me sometime, ask me to help them to make decision about their career, but I always ask them, where do you think you want to go to do your thing? I admire the decision by some of you who have made the decision to go back to the rural community where you come from just to practice medicine. You want to give back to your community. That's commendable. Some of you have even given up a lucrative career to become physician. I'm quite confident to say that all of you have a good sense of your responsibility as physician, and you will do a greater job at what you do, and you will serve your patient well. I'm almost done. Don't be impatient. I would be remiss if I failed to mention some of the technological advances in medicine that feel like they are replacing the need for a doctor. I was reading a book recently. The title is One of a Species by a music composer, Anthony Brandt, and David Eagleman, who is a neuroscientist. There is a quote in the book that caught my attention. I'm going to read the quote to you. Over time, even great works that once shocked the population will fall somewhere between the sanction and the forgettable. The avant-garde become the new normal, the cutting edge become less sharp. You all realize there is a relentless drive to create new things, to become faster and more efficient, although they are not necessarily cheaper. Think about the iPhone. The iPhone become a new thing every day, and it costs you more money. Medicine is also part of this ever-changing technology and new development that change the way we approach patients as well as changing the way we treat disease. I did a Google search to see what were the latest 6 advances in medical technology. It includes gene editing, sophisticated electronic diagnostic tool, that includes the smartphone that you use now as a tool to practice medicine. You have brain-machine interfaces. You have remote wireless monitoring. Like now, we used to take patients to the hospital to do a sleep study. That's no longer necessary. Nowadays, you can take a patient and send them with a patch and monitor their heart rate for several days. There is cancer nanotherapy. There is telemedicine. So you need to remember the advanced technology only provide you a tool to be more efficient and better at what you do. It does not and will not take your place as a physician. I'm going to give you an example. For example, now, I remember the days, I used to go to clinic. I hate to go to clinic because the chart were year big. Nowadays, you have a medical record that tell you everything about the patient. But nevertheless, the medical record allow you to be more efficient in reviewing somebody's record. Let's take, for example, if you see 15, 20 medication on the list that were prescribed to the patient, you still need to be at the bedside and inquire whether the patient actually is taking some of those medications. That's just give you one of the examples. So I would say, remind you that medicine is an art that we practice that requires a complex and creative skill that get better with time. The more you practice medicine, the better you get at it. The creative nature of our brain make it impossible for us human beings to be replaced by program technology. At least we're not there yet. The last thing I need to remind you is that medicine is a team sport. A successful diagnostic and treatment plan frequently requires the wisdom of a group of people. A physician by himself or herself is unable to effectively perform his or her duty without the nurses, the secretaries, the radiology technician, even the bed manager. A lot of time we don't think about the bed manager, the person who cleaned the room. Without that person cleaning the bed after a patient left, you cannot get the patient up to the ICU or wherever you needed to go. Remember, we all have limitations, and we need to know those limitations and operate within our circle of competence. There is a quote from Warren Buffett who goes on to say, different people understand different businesses, and the important thing is to know which one you do understand and when you are operating within your circle of competence. Translation, do not be ashamed to say, I do not know. And you should not fail to call for the skill of your another colleague when it's needed. And the last thing I'm going to tell you, it is important to create a good balance between your career and your private life and be happy. You will not be a good physician if you don't have a well-balanced life and if you're not happy. At the end of the ceremony, you should be proud to say to yourself, yes, I'm a doctor. And then I'd like to thank you again for giving me the opportunity to address you on this important day of your career. Good luck and congratulations to all of you.
It is with such excitement that I am pleased to introduce our next speaker, the soon-to-be Dr. Josh Johnson. When I met him 4 years ago, I remember a quiet and reserved gentleman. But it soon became clear that not only did he have such a vibrant personality, but incredible insights into every aspect on our journey through medical school. A year after graduating from Columbia University, Josh entered Alpert Medical School with the goal to take advantage of all the wonderful things that this institution has to offer. He led preclinical electives, educating our classmates on various health disparities and their impact on our healthcare system. He traveled to Apam, Ghana, to conduct research on dehydration treatment, and subsequently was honored with Best in Clinical Research at the AMS Summer Research Symposium. He led our school's chapter of the Student National Medical Association and continued to have leadership in the national organization's Health Policy and Legislative Affairs Committee. Here, he organized a conference with our nation's legislators in Washington, D.C. And he will be heading to New York City this summer at Weill Cornell Hospital to begin his training as a general surgery resident. This is only the tip of the iceberg of what Josh has accomplished in the past 4 years. While quite busy, he has always been someone that has taken the time to meditate on his experiences, connect with others on their successes and their struggles, and he has worked towards making our class a supportive community. Therefore, it comes as no surprise to me that our class has nominated this extraordinary individual to give one last reflection on this joyous day. Please join me in welcoming Josh Johnson.
Good morning. Family, friends, graduates, and esteemed guests, welcome once again to the 2018 commencement ceremony for the illustrious Warren Alpert Medical Class of 2018. Thank you to Deans Elias and Tunkel for their continued support and faith in having a student speaker, and a special thank you to my fellow classmates who bestowed upon me this honor of speaking on behalf of us this morning. Today is a day that should be filled with momentous joy. Many of us, though, are disappointed that our vacation, our fourth year of medical school, has come to an end. Some of us have come to terms with the past 4 years and are looking forward to the next. For example, we have a few budding orthopedic surgeons in the room who confided in me their excitement for finally putting medicine behind them. Quite a few of my classmates expressed immense happiness about getting their MD and finally starting that Instagram doctor blog to trump all others. I'm looking at you, dermatologists. Many of us are moving to Manhattan, which is great because the best way to get over the trauma of driving in Rhode Island is to become a commuter on the New York City subway. Today is also one of the last times my fellow classmates and I will be in the same room. And therefore, it is essential that we reflect on the significance of our presence here today. Historically, the days of spring have brought forth an intangible energy that allows us to accomplish those things that we once thought impossible. There is ample evidence to support this, I think, from the freedom rides that began in May of '61 to the Arab Spring of 2010, and even to LeBron James coming back from a 3-1 deficit in the finals to claim the NBA championship in 2016. It was exactly 2 centuries ago, in 1768, that the first medical degrees were conferred upon 10 medical students in Philadelphia on a spring day much like this one. And at that time, the coronation of these physicians was a symbol of the scientific prowess, the intellectual potential, and the dominating posterity of the United States that was soon to come. Make no mistake, however, the system of education then was forged in as much controversy and turmoil as you can imagine. At its inception, medical education has been a bastion of maintaining the social order, allowing only a few privileged to become doctors. It was only until 80 years after the first medical graduates in Philadelphia that Elizabeth Blackwell became the first woman to earn the degree of medical doctor at the Geneva Medical College in New York. Short 10 years before her, James McCune Smith became the first African American to hold a medical degree, which was earned in Scotland, nevertheless. And these figures were exceptions, not the rule. Much more beyond the active suppression of educational opportunity was the weaponization of disease and health to subjugate classes of people. Look no further than the efforts of public health administrators of the late 19th and earlier 20th century that sought to categorize immigrants as disease-ridden threats who were unfit for American citizenship. Or delve into the accounts of the Tuskegee trials that left unsuspecting subjects suffering from disease long after a cure was found. Or read the first-hand memories of fingernails being pulled, chemical weapons being inhaled, and viruses being injected into the veins of inmates at the Holmesburg prison only 60 years ago, and under the watchful eye of that same Philadelphia-based medical institution that produced this nation's first doctors. Throughout all these egregious acts at the hands of some of our hallowed medical institutions, be aware that it was students who helped shine the light to drive out darkness. Recall that it was we who created organizations such as the Student National Medical Association that has for decades advocated for the inclusion and support of medical students from all walks of life. Recall that it was 8 years ago at this very institution that student-run clinics opened up to help serve Rhode Island's uninsured, and that it was students who then designed and created a curriculum to educate themselves on how to adequately treat vulnerable populations of people. And so, what is the social history of our communities now? And what role do we play in it as future physicians? Well, history does tend to repeat itself, but that is only half the truth. If imitation is merely a form of flattery, then at times we seem to be infatuated with the ills of our past. Right now, the gender pay gap for physicians in this state alone is documented to be $108,000. To put it in New England-friendly terms, that's enough to buy 38,000 more large Dunkin' Donuts iced coffees a year. And to quote one of my favorite street philosophers, Nipsey Hussle, the last time that I checked, women aren't charged any less to attend medical school than the men. Less black men are enrolled in medical school now than 40 years ago. And anecdotally, it sometimes feels as though there's an alarming rate of depression amongst ourselves and our peers. I believe that if we are to truly serve those patients out there, then we ought to reflect and take a hard look at ourselves. We must speak up and acknowledge that the cost of attending institutions such as this one is not sustainable for the poor, for the low income, or for almost any student for that matter. We must be honest about the toll on our mental health that standardized exams, step 1 and 2, I'm looking at you, and grading systems have taken. And if we are to avoid the mistakes of generations before us, we must be open about how the world affects us, our perceptions of ourselves, our perceptions of each other, and of our patients. For many of us here at Brown, this is simply a matter of sustained effort. My fellow classmates and future physicians here at Brown have been beacons of social change. Within the past 4 years, you have started education enrichment programs in correctional facilities. You have provided for the city's homeless and refugees. You have mentored countless high school students. You have caroled for the sick. Some of you have even literally laid your backs on the ground to protest injustice. And you have demanded of this administration a responsibility to all of its students and to the people of Providence. As important, throughout these past 4 years, we have been there for one another. For the life force of our community is ultimately fueled by love. Our accomplishments inside and outside of the classroom are trailed by fractured hopes and egos. But it is a love we shared for one another that has allowed us to heal ourselves and will allow us to heal others. To the class of 2018, this spring, let us promise to continue to do that scholarly work that is grounded in making our society better, in not only mind and body, but also in soul. Thank you.
Graduates, please stand. It is traditional that those about to enter the profession of medicine take an oath before their peers, their faculty, and their families, pledging themselves to certain ethical principles of commitment and professional behavior. This particular oath was written by the MD class of 1975 and has been used by each succeeding class. Please repeat after me. Now being admitted to the high calling of the physician, I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the care of the sick, the promotion of health, and the service of humanity. I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the care of the sick, the promotion of health, and the service of humanity. In the spirit of those who have inspired and taught me, I will seek constantly to grow in knowledge, understanding, and skill. And will work with my colleagues to promote all that is worthy in the ancient and honorable profession of medicine. The health and dignity of my patient will ever be my first concern. I will hold in confidence all that my patient relates to me. I will not permit considerations of race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, nationality, or social standing to come between me and my duty to anyone in need of my services. This pledge I make freely and upon my honor. Please be seated.
Socii honorandi homines quos ad gradum magistri aduneos comperimus vobis presentamos et eos ad hunc gradum promovere liciat rogamos. Candidati ad gradum magistri ascendat. Auctoritati mihi commissa vos ad gradum magistri admitto, omniaque jura a privilegia ad hunc gradum pertinentia vobis concedo, quare in testimonium haec diplomata vobis solemniter trado.
Sir, I have the honor to present the recipient of the degree of Master of Public Health of Brown University, Maurice Hajar.
Vedete igitur ut probe integreque in emolumentum rei publicae eundei honorum ut decet eos hoc gradum honoratos vos doratus. Sedete magistri. Socii honorandi homines quos ad gradum doctoris medicinae idoneos comperamos vobis presentamos et eos ad hunc gradum promovere liciat rogamos. Candidate ad gradum doctoris medicina ascendat. Auctoritati mihi commissa vos ad gradum doctoris medicina admitto, omniaque jura a privilegia ad hunc gradum pertinentia vobis concedo, quare in testimonium haec diplomata vobis solemnitur trado.
Sir, I have the honor to present the recipients of the degree of Doctor of Medicine of Brown University. Meredith Adamo. Naomi Ajay. Kwame Ajapong. Abdul Kareem Ahmed. Wes Albright. Sophia Aronson. Samia Kate Arthur Bentel.
Congratulations.
Uzamaka Asanya.
Congratulations.
Armin Ayande.
Congratulations.
Reuben Baker.
Congratulations.
Stacy Bartlett.
Congratulations.
Anna Bermudez.
Congratulations.
Stephanie Blatch.
Congratulations.
Alexander Boulos.
Congratulations.
Richard Buesa.
Congratulations.
Eileen Bowie.
Congratulations.
Jefferson Chen.
Congratulations.
Hianu Chu. Ryan Clodfelter.
Congratulations.
Sean Coran did not show up.
Okay. Susanna Crepe.
Congratulations.
Michael Danielevich.
Congratulations.
Emily Davis.
Congratulations.
Laura Dean.
Congratulations.
Noah Donahue.
Congratulations.
Benjamin Drapshow.
Congratulations.
Cassandra Duarte.
Congratulations.
Daniel Eisenson.
Congratulations.
Rachel Ellenbogen.
Congratulations.
Toby Emmanuel.
Congratulations.
James Ang.
Congratulations.
Charles Fagundes.
Congratulations.
Christina Flores.
Congratulations.
Shekna Fofana.
Congratulations.
Christy Gandhi.
Congratulations.
Hans Gao.
Congratulations.
Carly Gilman.
Congratulations.
Jose Gonzalez.
Congratulations.
Megan Gorman. Jennifer Gutierrez.
Congratulations.
Maurice Hujar.
Congratulations.
Natalie Hall.
Congratulations.
Andrea Haynes.
Congratulations.
Nicole Heinel.
Congratulations.
Cottrell Hayward.
Congratulations.
Rebecca Himmelwright.
Congratulations.
Vivian Shao.
Congratulations.
Damilola Idowu.
Congratulations.
Josh Johnson.
Congratulations. Nice job.
Stefano Johnson.
Congratulations.
Alan Joseph.
Congratulations.
Jeffrey Julian.
Congratulations.
Rohan Katapali.
Congratulations.
Patrick Kelly.
Congratulations.
Gary Kamahavang.
Congratulations.
Denny Kim.
Congratulations.
Sungjun Kim.
Congratulations.
Christopher Lamb.
Congratulations.
Avia Lannis.
Congratulations.
Nicholas Lemmy.
Congratulations.
Brian Leva.
Congratulations.
Amanda Liu.
Congratulations.
Natalie Lochi Molina.
Congratulations. Can you do that?
Isaac Lopez. Alicia Liu.
Congratulations.
Jason Marwaha.
Congratulations.
Natalie Matthews.
Congratulations.
Nabil Mehta.
Congratulations.
Samuel Miller.
Congratulations.
Jeremy Mudd.
Congratulations.
Brandon Nakashima.
Congratulations.
Nicole Negbenabor.
Congratulations.
Jonathan Nicknam.
Congratulations.
Rachel Okio-Grosso.
Congratulations.
Sia Paniker.
Congratulations.
Allegra Perillo.
Congratulations.
Anshul Parulkar.
Congratulations.
Shane Petritis.
Congratulations.
Timothy Pien.
Congratulations.
Matthew Powell.
Congratulations.
Ian Prohl.
Congratulations.
Ollie Rye.
Congratulations.
Jacob Ramos.
Congratulations.
Justin Reamer.
Congratulations.
Ellen Richardson.
Congratulations.
Janine Ryder. Samantha Roach.
Congratulations.
Katrina Roy.
Congratulations.
Roy Rudderman.
Congratulations.
Yesenia Sanchez Kleinberg.
Congratulations.
Danielle Sancho.
Congratulations.
Ignacio Santana.
Congratulations.
Matthew Santos.
Congratulations.
Jason Sarte.
Congratulations.
Rashad Sr.
Congratulations.
Dewahar Senthor.
Congratulations.
Young Soul.
Congratulations.
Gagandeep Singh. Zachary Tab. Andrew Tarela.
Congratulations.
Rachel Thakor.
Congratulations.
Nathan Thomas Jr. Alice Tin.
Congratulations.
Adam Toomey.
Congratulations. Can you do it? That's all right. Yeah.
Annalise Van Meurs.
Congratulations.
Sean Verma.
Congratulations.
Naisha Voigt. Indu Voragante.
Congratulations.
Elizabeth Wong.
Congratulations.
Claudine Yee. Justin Yu.
Congratulations.
Yuchi Zhang.
Congratulations.
Richie Zhu.
Congratulations.
Sir, I wish to report that 8 students have completed their degree requirements and have permission to receive their degree in absentia. Sean Curran, David Doriaz, Erica Da, Eduardo Garcia, Charles Hyman, Benjamin Johnston, Joshua Rodriguez, and Supriya Shah.
Videte igitur ut probe intragreque in emolumentum rei publicae eundei honorum ut deca eis hoc gradum honoratos vos gratis. Sedete doctores medicinae.
We honor you today, Dr. Charles, for your contribution to our class as a clinician, educator, mentor, and friend. On the wards, you impressed us with your constant energy. You led by example, and you challenged us to be our patients' most informed advocates. In the classroom, you led memorably spirited didactic sessions. Your own willingness to be challenged, a testament to your humility, encouraged debate and engagement in the scientific process. You traveled with us to the Dominican Republic and showed us around Haiti, sharing with us your unique perspective and your sense of humor. And as our friend and mentor, you were always available and always supportive. With gratitude and admiration, the class of 2018 recognizes the role you have played in shaping our lives. Thank you for inspiring us, for challenging us, and most importantly, for believing in us.
For the God-centered among us, I invite you to join me in calling on God's names as we conclude this ceremony. For those with different convictions, I invite you to join me in calling on these names as representing doors to a deeper reality and potential inside of ourselves. Ya Shafi, Ya Rahmanu, Ya Salam. O Healer, O most widely merciful, O Wholeness, make our new medical graduates healers who serve with compassion and bring wholeness to others. Ya Alimu, Ya Hakimu, Ya Razaq. O most knowledgeable and wise, O Sustainer, grant our new medical graduates everything necessary for them to continue to follow their passions and lofty intentions. Ya Adl, Ya Haq, Ya Rafi'. O Justice, O Truth, O Uplifter, continue to challenge our new medical graduates to stand for greater equity throughout their careers, to serve the underprivileged, and to build a brighter and more hopeful future for us all. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalam, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. All this in God's name we pray. Amen.
Excuse me.